Welcome everyone. This will be my full Agatha all along episode 3 video, so we will break it all down. If you are new to the channel, be sure to subscribe to get all the videos and the watch out for spoilers if you haven't seen the episode yet. The episode titled Many Miles of Tricks and Trials is a reference to the next verse of the song, The Ballad of the Witch's Road. It is a reference to their journey where they literally walked down the road and faced their first test with a set of tricks as they sang to open the portal across the dimensions. The part of the idea is that the Ballad of the Witch's Road is a map that people used to travel the Witch's Road through the ancient times, through the centuries in the form of a song. That's why later Agatha says the instructions are literal in the lyrics of the song. As long as they follow those instructions, they must be good. After last week's episode ended, the opening scene opens with them actually walking down the road. There are a lot of reference and jokes about it in this episode, but when Agatha says that road suits Billy, it's a joke about a goth teenager, like he is wearing very goth clothes in the environment. The beginning of the road is very dark and scary. Mrs. Davis said that they abducted her without any cell phone reception because they are in the alternative dimension. She believes they are literally just below the surface at Westview. We find out she's a part of the historical society at Westview. There was also a transit system under the city that failed to build. At some point, it's like someone tried to build an underground transit system. There's a lot of table setting in the first part of the episode 3. The other witches of the coven are unaware of the Salem 7's vengeful quest against Agatha. She hides Rio's involvement from them. Maybe we will see Rio in the next week's episode. Eventually, she will join them, probably to replace the dead Mrs. Davis. Maybe her death also might be just temporary. You have to remember that they are in an alternative dimension. So actually the laws of existence, this alternative dimension does not conform to the rules of the reality within the normal MCU dimension. But in most episodes, they want to drive home the idea that Agatha doesn't care about anyone else here. She doesn't care about Billy, and she doesn't care about other witches. She considers them relatives and fodders on her way to complete the witch's road and regain her power. That's why she hides all the secrets from them. She hides more secrets from them in the later episode as well. How she got the Darkhold in the first place when it comes to Nicholas Scratch. Billy pipes up twice at the beginning of the episode with the lore and information about magic and how it works within the MCU. A small notebook in which he writes, everyone has to work together as a team to solve the trials. The notes there will help them to solve the witches and put an end to the sources. To solve the trial, to fix the drugs, everyone has to be of the same mind, work together in everything. Mrs. Davis dies in this episode, so it's just Billy in future episode. But that's it. Like the audience POV character to remind people of how magic works within the MCU. When Jennifer Kyle yells at Mrs. Davis for not having magical powers, Billy said that anyone can become a witch with a proper study. One of the next verses from the Ballad of the Witch's Road, they discover that the road is a metaphysical dimension that can manifest their worst fears. So whatever each person's worst fear are, they will turn out to be the trials they face along the way. It all starts with Jennifer Kelly's worst fears, but as you will see later in this episode, even though trials is based on Jennifer Kelly's existence in her life, the other witches face their own version of trials. All of them have their own life-specific issue to face. Billy learns more about how different types of magic works within the MCU. He talks about using analog magic, which is basically what Jennifer Kelly uses at the end of the episode, like physically making a real drug waves her hand and uses her magic power to do it automatically. This automatic type of magic is a Scarlet Witch's chaos magic. Like she doesn't have to cast any spells or speak incantation. She can just point out and make the stuff happen with her power. Billy also refers to this as a manual magic, as in magic based on manual power. Lilia then reveals that he's got a sigil on him. That is the M in the W symbol in his mouth. When he tries to say his name, I know there are a lot of theories about this, and they are definitely pulling out strings on some theories specifically in this episode, because they literally mention the word Mephisto later. I think it's mostly to stock their fires of fast theory crafting, but I think both M and W are for a maximum of and wonder. So they want you to think that the Scarlet Witches may have put a sigil on him. But there was an interview with showrunner a few days ago, and she said that Billy wore it himself. If Billy really puts the sigil on himself, I think he was trying to hide his identity from all other witches. The original sigil was meant to look like it was done by an amateur, which is why Billy did it like an amateur who doesn't know everything about magic. Like he is very strong, but he is not very educated. That's why he went to Agatha for help. When everyone accuses Agatha of putting the sigil on him. She denies it. It is said that it is the work of an amateur, all because of a teenager failed trying to put it on himself. Very early theory because he did it very amateur job of putting that sigil on him. So information will leak out and Agatha will eventually find out who he really is. Mrs. Hart brings them to their first trial. Sinking in the mud is like a swamp of sorrows, a never-ending story. Have to get her out before she sinks. But like I said, the first trial is for Jennifer. What Billy says is a face of water. Water also corresponds to Jennifer's element. As each witch has a different element that corresponds to different colors matching with their magic when they enter. How relieved Agatha is to find her brooch still there. I think we decided after watching episode 1 and 2 twice, the hair in the locket actually belongs to her deceased son, Nicholas Scratch. All the references in episode 1 make it sound like Nicholas Scratch was real and died at times. But later in the episode, Jennifer and Billy dabbled a bit theories about what happened to Nicholas Scratch. Mrs. Davis foreshadows her own death when she says, "Bury me in this kitchen," like she finally has to bury it by the end of the episode. Jennifer later states that Agatha sacrificed her son Nicholas Scratch to get the Darkhold, so loads of theories about it. People actually came up with the theory before this episode aired. Maybe she had something to do with the fight with Rio a long time ago. The reason why she hates Rio. Agatha actually hears her baby Nicholas Scratch's cries but sees the Darkhold in his crib. So I think that confirms at least some of what Jennifer is saying is true. But maybe not all. We will finally get the absolute truth, because Agatha is lying to everyone about what happened to Nicholas Scratch and what she is doing here. Whatever happened to Agatha, she was lying to them now. However, an early theory is that Nicholas Scratch died because of her quest for the Darkhold. But I don't think she literally took over his life like a Mephisto or one of other demons within the MCU. I think he might be just a collateral damage in her quest for the Darkhold, because the entire series is about Agatha's redemption. I think she will eventually treat Billy as her surrogated son and trying to protect him. Actually, a reference to Senior Scratchy, the bunny, the Agatha's bunny, who is demon trapped in the bunny form by Agatha. But it's not meant to be her actual son, like the bunny is not her son. There was actually a deleted scene from the WandaVision finale with a big fight that Quicksilver intervened. Bunny was going to turn into a monster and help them in the battle. Also note that the bunny didn't make it to the witch's road with them. The next big theory they try to confuse you with is, when Jennifer proposes, Agatha wouldn't recognize her own son if she showed up on her doorstep. I think it's meant to be the show tries to screw things up on a purpose with you to make you think that Billy here is actually Agatha's son Nicholas. Scratch on another body, everything is here. And with that, I'm 100% sure he is Billy Kaplan, aka Wiccan from the comics, son of the Scarlet witches in the show. Here too they are deliberately messing with us, although as I said, I think it's part of Agatha's redemption. She would consider Billy a surrogated son, but not like her biological son. Be aware of the show planning all kinds of false theories like this throughout every episode, as if they will continue to do this to us. Mrs. Davis, not one to waste wine, drinks it on one gulp. The timer that appears is just a countdown which can happen on each different trials episode to episode. So the idea is that they must complete the trial or they will die. A big part of doing that is that everyone has to go through it together, which is why force Agatha to take the wine and work with them. They should all be the same mind to make the potion and fix everything with Billy's blood at the end of the episode. Not that they wouldn't let Billy drink the wine. It's funny both because he is still teenager and so young. Billy means like an unblemished virgin, so they finish the potion with the virgin blood at the end of the episode. There are a bunch of theories they are cultivating here. In Billy's conversation with Alice, she reveals that she got a witch-themed tattoo while her mother was playing a concert at Red Rocks in Colorado. She is the one. That scene, the Ballad of the Witches, was written like she was a real rocker. This thing is a pop version of the song in Witch's Road. Anytime Red is mentioned or Red is seen in the background when Billy is around, it feels like another Scarlet Witch's reference. She explains more of her story and talks about her mother arranging her experiments like all the visions of her mother on the Witch's Way. We will see more of them in future episode. When Billy says that a lot happened to him at age 13, just like Alice, it's more reference to the events of WandaVision, Doctor Strange, the Multiverse of Madness. A lot of Kaplan's people are surprised by Hex and being reincarnated into another body. How did Billy get back if he was fake and built inside the Hex? Part of the concept is the way Scarlet Witch's chaos magic works. It's that she can literally create them out of nothing. That's how strong she is. What happened when the hex came down was that their souls survived and reincarnated into other bodies. This is why Billy's teenage body looks different from his young Billy body. But here is the thing about it. Notice when Alice says she likes his haircut. His haircut is modeled after young Billy's haircut during WandaVision, more reference to him. However, what is not clear here is whether he knows that the Scarlet Witch is really his mother, because that's not how he started out of the comics. So I think they are actually trying to follow the comics. Here at this point, he doesn't know that the Scarlet Witch is actually his mother. An early theory is that he is still Billy Kaplan. Mrs. Davis then talks to Other about the misconception about the witches throughout the ages. It is also a reference to misconceptions about the witches in real life as well. The interesting part is that all of this is happening. They have to do all these things inside the episode and later episode. So some legends are actually based on the truth, and there will be a Wizardos themed trial. If you remember, Agatha joked about witches eating children in the episode. As you know, babies are delicious. At the end of the episode, they have to crawl into an oven. Another reference to witches cooking children, which I think is a joke about Hansel and Gretel, because Lilia says it happened to a friend of mine a long time ago. I think this is a reference to her befriending the witch from Hansel and Gretel. As they say in the MCU, the story is based on a true story, and her friend cooked in an oven like it was done in the Hansel and Gretel story. Mrs. Hart jokes about joining the club as if she is finally part of the coven in drinking a virgin blood. They must do the same at the end of the episode because they drink Billy's blood inside the potion. Everyone's face was solemn when they drink a wine. Billy doesn't because he didn't drink the wine. They start having flashback. She reveals that Jennifer Scale's beauty products contains all sort of dangerous chemicals. So the things she was sued for in real life, she actually did, and she rightly sued and lost. Just like her, power was taken away because of what she was doing. When Lilia blurts out to say Agatha, someone might say in the future episode, because remember, she's a fortune teller, and she randomly has a visions of the future uncontrollably. So whenever she says something she feels, it doesn't mean it could be something that happens in a future episode. The person who haunts Jennifer is like one of her former teacher, maybe jealous of her because he tries to drown her by saying that he is him who is now nothing, as if to suggest that he somehow died because of he felt like a failure. She was truly amazing because of her skill in magic and potions. Lily looks like a younger version of herself. There, she actually watches as her mother dies, as a literal representation of death within the MCU. Behind her, she died while telling Agatha everyone died. They were probably her only real family, like her biological family. Agatha seems to have sympathy for some of other members as she sees Lily and genuinely tries to comfort her. So this is the slow part of Agatha's recovery. This is just beginning of the series, and the glass windows begins to collapse, revealing that they are underwater and will drown if they don't complete the trial. Mrs. Davis is really hard. She seems to be in the verge of death. Unless they do, they will not save her life. End of the episode. Agatha, here is her son. Nicholas scratches. The baby cries. Like I said, this is meant to be his grave, but under the blanket seeing the Darkhold, confirming at least some of what Jennifer said about her backstory in what she did to sacrifice to get the Darkhold. Her whole reaction here when she unfolds the cover in the grave and gets scared. Staring at the babies is also direct parody of Rosemary's Baby when she too opened to see the demon in the cradle. Now my guess, this is a misunderstanding. She didn't literally trade her baby Nicholas Scratch for the Darkhold. She's followed the Darkhold more than just being a mother followed her career, which led to her son's death. Because Agatha is lying about what she's actually saw in her obsession with the gang. I think the gang will finally hear the truth from her. Finally, as a part of her recovery, she would be clean about everything with them, but not at first on purpose. Some secret about her will be revealed through their journey. And finally, Agatha will be forced to complain, but will ultimately redeem herself by the end of the series. Then there's an interesting line where Jennifer says that a man stole her magic like a dude stole her magic. They don't say who they are. They make it sound like some powerful group of people are capable of stealing her magic. A very early theory is that they are going to introduce some other governing bodies in witchcraft inside the MCU. There will be some of the antagonists in the background of the series, like people stealing magic from these witches. Agatha isn't just stealing magic from witches. Agatha then reveals her history with Jennifer. This is more of Agatha's redemption too, as if to show that she wasn't always a terrible person. She says she never saw Jennifer's power even though she could if she wanted to. She thought the work Jennifer was doing as a witch was important, as if she was respected. And she was left alone. The whole idea of Mrs. Davis dying is that she probably died of trauma, like the shock of what happened to them. Like I said, an early theory was that they might resurrect her by the end of the series and bring her back. She might learn magic and become part of the coven finally. But I think part of the idea is that they kill her off at the beginning of the series to give you an idea of the stakes. People can die here, and to make a room in their group to show Rio in episode 4 next week. Remember the prophecy Lily gave them on paper. Blackheart, Rio was originally part of their group. Mrs. Davis wasn't meant to be here. They pays off. Funny thing about never remembering Agatha's name, like who are you talking about? Because she only remembers her as a Mrs. Hurt, her identity within the Hex. She forgot her name early in this serial. If you find any reference during the episode that I didn't talk about in this video, please write them down in the comments.